Yeah, I'd like to call this meeting of the Henley Homes and Royal Building Committee to order at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, September 15th. First order of business is to approve the minutes from our meeting of September 17th, 2025. Can I get a motion to do that? Sarah moves, Jameson seconds, all in favor? Aye. Great. Um, Doesn't look like we have any members of the public here, so we'll skip public comment. Um, Nothing really new on the chair's report. I'm going to skip pretty quickly to Matt, who can give us kind of an update on status of the project and how things are going. We had an OAC meeting today that was very, very productive. I mean, the one thing that we're kind of waiting for, and things are starting to come in. I think we got Royal's submission today, is that we talked about it at the last meeting, which is the input from the principals to add to the developing wish list so that it can then be priced and rolled out to the committee, or rolled out to the committee and while it's being priced so people can see kind of the scope of what's being considered. I think we got Royals list today. At least one of the items on there is already on the list and being done. So we'll just, we'll keep an order, we'll keep an eye out for the rest of that. They said they would have it. The principals said they would have their submissions by the end of this week. Travis will then integrate it into the list. I'm going to be away next week visiting my daughter overseas. And as soon as I get back, we'll put together a meeting with the principals and the design team and Kevin and Dr. Byrne to go through that list, and determine what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and then we'll roll that list out to the committee to consider while it's being priced out by the O&G team. With that, turn it over to Matt to give kind of a quick school by school where things stand on each phase, what's coming up in over the next month or so, et cetera.
Sure. So, good evening. Blanket across all three schools. We're in phase 2B, same as last month, making quick progress on each of the schools. Royal also includes phase 2C. And today, the 15th, marks the start of heating season, so all the boilers are operational and running at all three schools. For homes, we made a lot of progress in the boiler room over the past month, so that's all squared away. The breaching was installed last week, and then that undertaking is undergoing because we have to do some temporary measures. And then as part of the phase 2B renovations inside of the school, we have framed walls, we've insulated, we've done in-wall rough, and we've sheetrocked and taped and sanded all of the walls. Currently working for overhead piping and electrical, and otherwise going to start preparing for doing the underground retention system install. So that's for Henley. Any questions before I move on to the next
What
school?
is it? Just when you talk about the different phases, what is it? We talked about this at OAC briefly. What is it that is intended? Maybe you could just touch on each of the schools. What is it that's intended to be delivered after Christmas break?
Okay.
Yeah, that would be helpful for people to know what's going to be opened up.
Yep. So every school is sort of labeled the same way with the phases. We have 1A, which was last summer, 1B, which was the majority of the addition work except for Royal. And then we had 2A, which was the summer, 2B, which we are currently in. And then Royal has 2B and 2C. And then the next phase that we'll be in is 3. And then we'll have 4A and then 4B, which will be the summer. And currently for Henley and Holmes, we're doing interior renovation work. So we're just upgrading classrooms. right sizing them, moving some walls, upgrading the HVAC system, things of those sorts. And for Royal, 2C extends for the whole school year, and that is the second music edition.
Right.
But primarily now, I would say the bulk of the project, again, aside from Royal, is interior renovations of the existing buildings.
Right.
So each phase is about 4 to 8 classrooms, depending on the phase. Some of them are smaller resource rooms or staff rooms or main office suites, things of those sorts. So we've taken chunks, moved teachers around, and then during breaks, so the phases transition between December and April. During those breaks are when we end and begin a second phase, and that gives everybody the school time to move in and out of the spaces that we will be giving back and will need for the next phase.
Got it. So the idea being that there'll be there'll be a number of renovated rooms turned over to the schools at each of the 3 schools at or after Christmas break for the start of the winter
Correct.
term. Okay.
Yep. And then as far as our phase scheduling goes for those phases, we will most likely be concluding our major work a few weeks before those breaks, which gives additional time for the district to get in to do whatever they need to do, whether it's
Right.
moving in or doing low voltage or whatever that might be.
Perfect.
Yep, and punch lists and whatnot.
Is there new furniture being delivered as part of the or is the next new furniture really tied to like the new construction in Royal?
Just new
Correct.
construction.
Yeah.
It'll be new construction at Royal and when Holmes does their their
Library
GLC.
edition,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's right. So no more new deliveries for Hinley, and then Holmes will have a little bit, and then Royal will be the most.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry I cut you off. You were going school by school. I think you just hit Holmes.
Yep.
Um, Go ahead.
So for Holmes, primarily the same thing as Hinley. Boiler room, startup, getting the boilers up and running for heating season, and we're in phase 2B. It's all a lot of the same thing: in-wall rough, closing up walls, and overhead ductwork, piping, and electrical. They have some work in their wood-framed attic that they're also doing as part of the existing building renovation and upgrades. And something I didn't mention for Hinley, but is consistent across all 3 schools, is that we are working on completing punch list work for all of the phases that have been completed, and that should be close to wrapping up now. And the plan is for KG&D and their consultants to come in early November to back punch everything and close that out. So
Cool.
that's Holmes. Any questions on Holmes? And then Royal, a bit different from the other 2, like I've already mentioned. So Royal currently still has their courtyard work ongoing. I know they had some issues with a lot of site drainage and things backing up into the basement and of those sorts. So that changed things around, but they're making good progress on that with the um, cast stone seat walls and the rubber play surface being applied this month. Phase 2B and 2C. So the music edition is currently being constructed. The structural steel is up. They're working on framing of the music edition. The slab was poured before the structural steel was in. And they'll be looking to continue framing and start working towards a weather tight milestone with exterior sheathing happening after the structural steel is completed and roofing shortly after. And then as part of 2C is the interior renovations. That's same as Hinley and Holmes. Those schedules all align. In-wall rough is ongoing and finishing. Walls are being sheetrocked, taped, and sanded. and then overhead, electrical, mechanical piping, plumbing, sprinkler is all underway.
Any questions from the committee for Matt?
How is the air conditioning going over at Royal?
You mean the new unit
new-
for
yes.
the new unit for the principal's
Correct.
office suite?
Our team is doing the design drawings now, and we got to get them to ONG to price. So trying to get them that within the next week.
Yeah, I think we discussed it at OAC today, and
Mhm.
the actual installation of that is scheduled for late spring and next summer, but they're in the design phase of it now. Then it's got to get priced, and then there's some lead time items like actually getting the equipment. But it's on the front burner, Sarah, because like believe it or not, that's not that far away when you
No.
start looking at supply chain type issues.
Yeah, I think it's not a crazy lead time, but it is like 8 weeks. So we just
Yeah.
want to be ahead of that.
That's right. We're still in the comfortable range.
Yep.
And I think Travis and his team have a good grasp on what needs to be done.
Right,
So
Yep.
we're
thanks.
in the right direction.
But in the meantime, that office suite is going to get heat for the cold months, right? I mean, it's part of the. I know Natasha's on the phone, so I want to make sure she knows she's going to have heat for the cold months.
This is
Yes,
why I
that's
asked.
right.
I saw her
Thanks,
shoes
Chris.
on.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. I mean, I do always have layers in my office, but I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yep, we're getting into the cold season, and yes, everybody will have heat. That's right.
Just looking out for you, Natasha. Because Kevin's not on the call tonight, so we
Much
just
appreciated.
someone's got to be paying attention.
Thank you.
Any other questions in terms of status of construction at each of the three schools? If not, then with that, I would turn to the financial update. Josh Kaufman sent around his most recent update. I mean, I think at this point, everything looks really good. I mean, it's just doing some rough numbers. We're basically 10 months of the project left to go, out of a 36-month time frame. So we're about a little over 70% there in terms of schedule and actual physical work. And at each of the schools, we spent about 60, somewhere between 60 and 65% of the budget at each of the schools. And so I think on a very, very rough cut basis, and not being the financial expert in the group, but on a very rough cut basis, it feels to me like we're doing pretty well in that regard. Likewise, we in terms of the owner's contingency, we've spent about 22% at Hinley, 22 at Holmes, and about 32 at Royal. So we still have significant contingency left. We spent virtually none of the construction manager's contingency. And obviously that contingency number will go down depending on where we ultimately decide to come out on the wish list items. But, at this point, it all, feels pretty comfortable. I would defer to Rob to get whatever input he has on this and others that have been looking at it. But, so far it feels like we're in good shape in that regard. I think the one sort of caveat to all that is the state reimbursement process seems to be a little bit slower than maybe we had hoped. Dave, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. I know Kevin Monret's been tracking it as well. He's not on, and I know the school district's finance folks have been working closely with the state. But I think that's the one aspect of the financial picture that's not, not quite up to snuff with everything else.
Yeah. So, Chris, just briefly from my standpoint, I think that I know there are payments that are being submitted, and there was a concern, and maybe that was maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, and it looks like all three projects had been paid, but whoever the author of that spreadsheet was, I don't know if that is Josh that's tracking that as far as what was submitted versus what we returned. If it does look like, it's those payments are aging or those reimbursements are aging, I'm happy to get involved as I did last time too.
I think that was, I mean,
Josh,
Kevin knows better, but I think that was Rich Rudel, who's the director of finance for the school district.
Okay.
I think Josh is taking information he's getting from Rich, but I think Rich, Kevin, and Dr. Byrne are kind of the ones on the front line in terms of the actual submissions to and dealing with the state.
Yes, the
Okay.
state is moving slowly.
Yeah. So if that is the case, and I'm happy to reach out to our contacts there again. I would just ask that before I do that, if I could just get what the most current version of that Excel document is, just to make sure I'm speaking intelligently about when the last application was submitted versus when it was paid or how long it's been out there.
Can I ask you then to just follow up with Kevin when he's back online, tomorrow or the next day, and just have him, and maybe you and he and Rich connect with each other?
That's no problem. Actually, when I was emailing with you a little bit before the meeting, Chris, I did send that sheet to you and Kevin saying if we have an update. So I'll follow up with.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll touch base with him in the morning as well.
Okay.
Thank you,
you.
Dr. Byrne.
Yep. And like I said, once I get that, I'm happy to make some phone calls.
Perfect. That would be great.
Sure.
If you get an answer by then, can you let me know? Because I'm talking to Josh at the Board of Finance meeting on Tuesday night. So there's no sense having two people look at this. If you guys make some progress, just let us know. Like if you let Chris know or me know, that'd be great. So I don't have to kind of ask him again. Make sense?
Yeah.
And just looking at the financial report just for a second, just a couple of questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've got some reimbursement, obviously, from Henley and Boyle. I saw your question about home, so hopefully let's just say that comes in at $2 million too. So did we target 5% reimbursement in the state? Does that sound right off the top of my head?
Rob, I think it's more than that because these are alteration projects. So the rate is higher. I think
I thought it was 20.
It is 20. So for the amount of work that is deemed eligible, it's 20% that's reimbursed.
So not
It's
100%,
reimbursed
not
at a rate
100%.
of,
So it's 20. It's 20 of some percent of 100, right? So
it's 20. Right, exactly. If one of the projects was $27 million, and of the 27 they deemed 20 of it eligible, then that 20 million will be reimbursed at a rate of 20%. Which I thought it was. I thought it was somewhere in the tune of like 5 or so million per school.
right.
Okay, I'm just thinking about, what Board of Finance tends to do sometimes, do a little cash flow statement out there, right? We try to go 18 months out and think about how much we're borrowing and how much will be coming back. It's obviously your money's coming back into the coffers here, if you want to call it that. Do we know what the eligibility number would be then of the 101? Or how can we find that out?
Yeah. Yes, Rob, we do have that from the point that we went to the plan completion review.
Yep.
Yeah. Let me let me get my hands on that. Okay.
You can just dig it up and let me know.
Yeah, we
Yep.
have those numbers, Dave. We can look at that.
Yeah, like Travis, I think the last time we updated it probably was the PCR for each of the FF&E packages. That was the last time we went to them.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Right, and I think there was an ineligible cost. So, Rob, Travis and I will coordinate, and then we'll make sure we got the same information.
Yeah,
We'll
I mean,
share
I'm
that with
looking
you.
at the bottom of that. I'm looking at the bottom of that spreadsheet that you had sent around, and it says the estimated grant from the state based on initial total project cost from June of 24 was 20.7% in the aggregate, basically 21 million of the 101. So roughly 7 per school in round numbers.
Higher spending eligible. It doesn't sound like that's the case.
That's not the eligible number. That's the state grant. That's how much.
Correct.
That's just
Right.
not in nominal numbers how much the state proposed to reimburse. That doesn't tell us what that's off of. That's just dollars.
Yeah,
Okay.
Correct. And
Dave,
right.
I
And that's
recall
part
it being a pretty high number that was eligible. I think we tried to minimize that as much as possible, and they'll review that later on when they do their audits. But I think
Okay.
it was a pretty
Travis,
small ineligible number.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the things that we know are ineligible are things like the contingencies because they're not until they're spent. But you're right,
Yeah.
Travis. I don't think it's, and I was just throwing rough numbers. I don't think it was, 20 out of the 29,
No.
per school. That's
Yeah.
so, no, you're right about that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, just
We'll
if you give me a number by Tuesday, I just want to talk to the Board of Finance about that number so they can get a number in their heads. Like I said, more for cash flow than anything else. I've been trying to build out like a 12 to 18 month cash flow out there, and this would be helpful.
Yep.
And then
no problem.
one other question on the financial report, and Chris, this might be more than might be you. There's a number on here under contingency. It's called overall OC potential changes. Is that some of the items that are bubbling up in terms of the wish list, if you want to call it that? Is that where that number is coming from?
No, I think that comes from the ONG monthly report in terms of potential changes that they have coming down the pipeline that have not yet been turned into PCOs, but that they expect may be coming.
That's correct.
I think that's correct, Matt and
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
What kind of items would those be?
Matt, do you want to speak to that or would you like me to speak to it?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
It's about these are potential changes. So these are changes that we've identified through the course of construction. Either something came up and we had to ask a question of the design team, or if we think that there is something coming up, we'll put a placeholder in our system so that we're being proactive and making sure we're allocating the right amount of funds. So there are changes that have not been brought to the HHRBC as an official change, but the things that we know there was some potential exposure to costs.
And it's it's on the log, it's on the change log that you go through at OAC, like this is what's coming, this is what may be coming. Some of the things
Exactly.
that, maybe a couple examples of those types of things.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I can pull them up directly.
Yeah. Take your time. It's okay.
And even while Matt's looking that up, even I know the monthly reports go out to all the committee members.
Right.
So if you go to the section in there, it's called requests and changes log. You'll see that, and they're each a few pages long. And what they'll do is they're grouped by their status. So there are ones that are approved, and I think those are at the bottom of the list. But the first ones they're listed as potential, and each one of those are things that we know about that we are tracking a potential cost, but it has not been brought to fruition yet, and that the pricing has not been finalized or the work has not been conducted. They're placeholders. So
Right. And so
it
hasn't been submitted into the system where KG&D first approves it and then it goes to Jameson and Paul.
Right.
Basically.
And I mean, they're still being
correct.
vetted by ONG as well at that
Right.
point.
That's
And then
correct.
I think when they're moved into the active category, that means they've been formally submitted. ONG feels like they vetted it, and now it's going into our court, and there's some back and forth there, and then it goes to your guys' courts once we're satisfied.
That's correct.
That's right, Travis.
Yeah, and I mean, so some examples, obviously, for any owner contingency things are changes of design. Let's say we open up a wall and there were some unforeseen conditions there, and we have to relocate a roof drain leader or pipe that's 2 feet in the room. That'll be something. If we have to address a building official concern as part of paving sidewalk for egress or adding some exit signs or additional emergency lighting. That's another thing that comes up. Or that was brought up, the wish list items for aesthetic upgrades that would also be added to the potential list. And Scott or I might throw in some numbers there as to what we estimate might be the cost of these things, and that's the number you'll see in potential. And then, like Travis said, once it moves to active, that's the actual cost that we received from the subcontractor.
Yeah,
That
but to
is
be clear, the
wanting to
number
approve.
that's on Josh's financial report doesn't reflect any wish list items just because those haven't been kind of moved that far along yet, right? So it's only stuff that has been actually identified by the folks on the ground at the schools.
Yes.
Yeah, depending on what I mean, for we put what we do, irrigation, like at Royal, or some things that we had to get done. So
Right.
some of those things have already been passed through.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify this so everybody's on the same page on that. That whatever we're asking for, what's the time frame for finalizing that list? Was it November 15th? Around there?
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, the principals are continuing to work on it. They said today that they expect to have their input by the end of this week. So that it can then be integrated with the list that's already kind of in process and rolled out to the committee while Travis and KG&D and ONG are working on pricing it.
Chris, the principals have been sending me their lists, so I should have them all the end of this week, and we'll be ready to take the next step.
Great.
Thanks. And those are my questions. I appreciate it.
Perfect.
Sure.
Any other questions or input on the financial side of things? Okay, then with that, let's take up the most current pay applications, the G702s that we sent around. We'll do these on a school by school basis. The first one is, can I get a motion to approve pay application number 17 for the Holmes Elementary School dated September 30, 2025 in the amount of $895,002.44. Rob moves. Sarah seconds. All in favor? Aye. Great. Can I get a motion to approve pay application number 17 for the Hindley Elementary School dated September 30, 2025 in the amount of $644,892.77. Sarah moves. Anyone seconding? Let's see. Jameson seconds. All in favor. Paige, thank you. Dennis, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve pay application number 17 for the Royal Elementary School dated September 30, 2025 in the amount of $966,555.86. Jameson moves, Dennis seconds, all in favor, aye, approved. Great. I will go down to town hall tomorrow, put my signature on these before I leave for out of town. I'll be back a week from Friday. I'll check email from time to time, so people can certainly reach out to me as they need to. Anything else from the group before we give you the rest of your evening back? Okay, with that then, can I get a motion to adjourn? Dennis moves. Second, all in favor. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Matt, thanks for your report today.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey,
Good night.
Chris,
everybody.
Thank
Chris,
you.
congratulations.